Live like you already am that person, because if you don't do that, then you would never become that person. Create mini goals for yourself, mini goals, and eventually, boom, you're on top. This really proved to me like change needs to come from within.
Alright, so welcome to this weekly episode of the Power Podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest, my good friend, my good client, my brother from another mother up here in Bali, living the dream and doing his absolute best to inspire and help other people to do the exact same thing. Very pleased to have him on in this episode, and we're going to dive into some good stuff about your health, your fitness, your mindset, your personal development, and how that really accelerates and how that can help you to actually start your own business, travel, and live the life you always wanted to. So, Yannick, my friend, welcome on board.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for the kind words.
Always good to hang out with you, man. How did we actually meet each other, by the way? We met each other through Tristan, right?
I think through Tristan, yeah.
Yeah.
The first time I saw you was at Chop.
Oh, yeah.
We were just simultaneously at Chop.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't speak, but that was the first time I saw you. And then I was like, oh, Tristan is hanging out with this guy. He seems like a pretty cool guy, so let's connect. And then I was like, I'm looking for a personal trainer, so why just not do it with Simon?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, bro. Chop loves the Dutch people, the Scandinavian people over there.
It's like 90% Dutch.
Yeah, that's sick, man. How long have you been in Bali for now?
11 months already.
11 months, yeah.
Almost a year.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. And then what's next? What are you going to do next?
So actually, today we are going to move to Uluwatu. We have been in Canggu for 11 months.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, all right, 11 months in Bali, maybe it's time to just live in a different place. Yeah. I like Canggu, but it's so crowded, and I went to Uluwatu for a couple of weekends, and it's just way more chilled, and I don't know, just go back in the full focus mode kind of thing.
Yeah. You're a married man, you know what I mean? So you could easily live on an island somewhere. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, and after Uluwatu we are going to Lombok, and that's even more quiet. So the last month in Bali is going to be very, very easy.
Nah, that's sick, man. Yeah, we'll dive into more about that, like how it is to travel, move around, and that sort of thing there. But how old are you, by the way?
27.
27, yeah. Just tell me a little bit more about where did you come from? You're obviously from the Netherlands. What's the story? Like, I feel like we all have this, like, we were someone, we struggled a little bit, and then we had a journey there. So, like, where did you come from? Like, how did you grow up and stuff?
Yeah, I'm coming from the Netherlands, a small village in the south, close to Eindhoven. I don't know if people are familiar with that. But yeah, just a pretty regular upbringing. Like, parents are still together. At some point, I became a very, very annoying teenager. And that's exactly the moment that I got fat as well. But before that, I went to school. I didn't like school at all, but it had to. Like, I had to go to school. But I was this introverted kid, and I really didn't enjoy going to school. So when I went to college, I really hated it. Like, I said this in another podcast. I don't know, I just didn't like it. I was this introverted kid, and for example, when I needed to do a presentation, I was so scared. I was so nervous what other people would think of me. And I think this is coming from being too self-aware. For example, when I started my first business and I was in a sales call, I was talking to people, but I couldn't listen because I was too busy with myself, like, thinking, what am I doing with my hands? How am I sounding? Or is this guy liking me? Or is he... I was so busy in my head that I couldn't even hold a normal conversation. And the same was in school. Like, I just couldn't perform there. Like, And that was the moment I felt like, okay, I need to do something different. But I think this came from being that insecure guy, being 25 kg overweight, and getting these, how can you say, like, bad words? So you're like, oh, fat kid, this, that. I don't know, it's just...
It stuck with you.
It makes you insecure, and I saw that this came back in all areas of my life, like in school, meeting new people, anything.
And so how did you, like, what was there, because you weren't, like, you said you were fat around, like, college, teenage years, like, what were you like when you grew up?
I was just as a kid? Just a skinny kid. I can maybe send a picture to you. You can pop it up on the screen. But I was just a normal skinny kid. But then I always played soccer. And then I got a real bad knee injury, and I still have it. Like, I don't have cartilage in my knees, so when I play soccer for 20 minutes, it just gets swollen immediately. And that was the exact moment that booze got interesting, things like drugs got interesting, and I just went, I'm a kind of guy, I go all in or I do nothing. So when that got interesting, I was like all in, like eating trash, drinking 4 days a week, doing all that kind of bad stuff. And that was the moment I gained that weight, because I stopped playing soccer. I didn't go to the gym. The only thing I was doing is drinking, eating trash, and just...
And how old were you there?
I think this was at 16.
16, yeah.
16-ish, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said like you had the injury and that sort of thing, then you stopped playing football, but was it simply just because you were bored? You didn't have anything to do? Was that why you got sidetracked, or what happened there?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't play that game I loved so much anymore.
Yeah.
So I needed to find something else I loved, and then I came in contact with all this interesting alcohol, going out kind of stuff, and I just went all in on that, and it was the wrong decision.
Sounds very similar to something I've tried as well. Very, very similar. So what was the you said you gained like 20 kilo or something?
Yeah, I was 106 kg at 16 years old. Like,
yeah, wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's when, the lack of confidence, self-esteem started to come in, like you're fat, like...
Yeah, everyone was saying like, what are you doing? Like, is it,
happened to you,
it's maybe getting too bad. And my grandpa always says like, oh, Yannick, you got so big legs, like,
and you took it in, you know what I mean, didn't you? Like,
yeah, but I felt like shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the discipline to just change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that same position. Like they maybe want to change it, but they can't bring it up.
Yeah. So what was the kind of like the turning point that got you to flick it around there? Like what were you doing there?
This is the interesting part. Like this really proved to me like change needs to come from within. Like everyone can say to you like you're fat or you're doing this or that, but one day I was standing in front of my mirror and I took my phone, I made a picture, and at that exact moment I made that decision like, okay, this is going to stop. I was disgusted what I was seeing in the mirror. And then it just flipped the switch immediately. I went to the gym 2 times a day, cut out all of the carbs. 1,600 calories a day, like it was
went hard,
hard, like I always do. Like I went hard, and I skipped everything else. I didn't drink for 6 months. I didn't had pizza, fries, or any like fast food at all in 6 months. Just all in, full focus, zoned in, and then I think 5 months I lost 25 kg.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like especially with being overweight and not looking the way they want. Like it's either they look in the mirror or the t-shirt or the clothes doesn't fit anymore. There's something that triggers. Yeah. So what was because you obviously said like you hated yourself and you knew you were getting fat and you were getting out of shape and you didn't like yourself.
Yeah.
But did you kind of like remember what led you to come to that point of like in the mirror make the decision, or was it just kind of like out of nowhere?
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Like I always, and that's why I'm so glad I have that picture. I have that picture. Yeah. And that's a picture I think you already have seen a lot of time, like with the pink curtains. But I don't know. It was just like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was nothing from outside. It was just a decision.
But you obviously said like you went through a long phase where you didn't like yourself, self-esteem, self-confidence, and that sort of thing.
For example, like for maybe 2 years, 2 summers, I didn't took my shirt off at the swimming pool. All my friends were jumping in the pool. I was just laying on the grass with my shirt on because I was too ashamed of my body.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think not a lot of men have this, but if you have it, it can do very much harm to your self-esteem. Like I don't know if you're familiar with gynecomastia.
Yeah.
I had this really bad.
Yeah.
You see it on that picture as well.
Yeah.
And I still have it, but when I gain weight, that's the first place I gain weight.
Yeah, right.
But as a man, you don't want to have boobs, right?
Exactly.
That's the worst thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that made me very, very insecure as well. That's why I didn't take my shirt off.
Yeah.
If it was only my belly, okay, fine. Yeah. But it was I
actually had it as well.
Yeah.
I had surgery. I can't remember if I told you. I had surgery.
Oh, really?
Because I developed it through when I competed. So there's substance and that sort of thing you're using at that time, like super young. But it was never it was obvious for me, and the same thing for you. But I would probably say the same thing as well to you. It's like, you can't see it, but you know it's there.
I always see it. Like even when I'm ripped, I still see it.
You look at it.
Yeah.
It's actually like a good point to you there. Like I remember that as well. It's like, I saw it as well. I saw it every day looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
But nobody would really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But I just got to the point, you know what I mean? And that was like long time after when I moved to Australia. I'm like, I'm just gonna get it removed.
Yeah.
And went into surgery, you know what I mean? Like you pay, I can't remember what you pay there. It's like 3K, 4K, 5K, I can't remember, like whatever. But I went there on a Friday afternoon, got the checkup, got that whole thing done, and I was out again. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, in all these years, I've been looking at that as an annoying problem, and they're gone in an afternoon. I'm like, I think there's a good lesson in that. I think we are tolerating so many things where in the end of the day, it's just make the decision, book the appointment, and then get things done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but on the other hand, I'm like, okay, this is me. Like, I was given this body.
Yeah.
I'm fucking grateful the life I'm living, and I have nothing to complain, right? Like, why wouldn't I just be happy with it? Let people talk about it.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is, I went to the plastic surgeon as well, and they were saying to me like, oh no, this can go away by just lifting or whatever.
Or they said it could just go away?
No, it couldn't.
No.
So I was really, at the same time I was discouraged, but also very motivated to prove them wrong. Because it was so expensive. I couldn't pay that at that age. I was 16. I didn't have 3,000 cash just laying somewhere around. So that was my challenge. Let's go all in to fix this thing. And within 4 months, I really went all in the gym as well. And it just almost disappeared. Like I have this picture and you can barely see it. So that was, I just proved them wrong. And that was for me the win.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's an awesome. So what would you say to that guy that's laying on the grass, you know, and he don't want to take his shirt off, and it actually harms his self-esteem and self-confidence? What can people do practically to have that same experience as you, walking into the mirror and actually make something about it? Because I agree, you know, people have to have that like internally, as you say.
Yeah.
Is there some things you maybe like, if you're looking back and you could speak to someone there in that same situation, that maybe can speed up the process of him getting to that point?
You just have to think about like how big is the urgency? How bad is this problem for you? Like, do you really bother like you can take that shirt off, for example? Well, if that's really a big thing for you, then just make the decision and create that urgency for yourself, because you can change it. Like I did it in 5 months, but you just have to make that decision. And it's like always when I choose for the long-term vision in my head, like, okay, it seems so big at this time, but when I keep that in mind, instead of choosing the instant gratification, I'm always happier that I did it. So for the people who are in a situation like they're struggling choosing that long-term vision, and they are always choosing the instant gratification because it's tempting to take that donut and to take that bag of chips. But the idea of being in perfect shape and taking your shirt off at the swimming pool or at the beach, that's way more beautiful. Like, But you just have to put in the time and make that decision for yourself, and eventually your future self will be very grateful that you did it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think a lot of people, they probably are in the same situation you're in, you know, like they're not happy with the way they look and with the way they feel. But it's a little bit like you're saying, it's like, I just didn't have the discipline. I can't, like, I'm like, I will do it Monday, or I will do it next month. It's not that bad yet.
Exactly.
Like, do you have anything you could say to them, how to create the urgency? Like, would it literally just be like, hey, stand up naked in front of the mirror and then just look at yourself until you feel discouraged enough? Or like...
No, I think it's put things in perspective. Like, you're on this earth for 80, 90 years maybe. In 5 months of those 80, 90 years, you can change your whole body. Why don't just invest those 5, 6 months, go all in, make that change, and from that point you can just maintain that physique. And it's way less hard than getting there. But invest 6 months. Just do this, go all in 6 months, and after that you can just enjoy yourself again.
But absolutely.
What is 6 months on a lifetime? Like,
nothing.
And you will feel way better those 80 years. When you invest those 6 months than when you don't do it. And that's the crazy part. Like it's such a small period of time to make really such a big difference.
Make the perspective around nothing.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. I love that. I love that sort of thing. And so what are the things that you're doing right now to just like stay in shape and like be healthy around? Like, how do you maintain it? What are some advice you can get to people to like become extreme, become obsessed, like do it for the next 5, 6 months, like really put in the work, as you said, like you're cutting all your carbs and like and go really hard. What are some things you learned on that journey so you didn't bounce back again like you see a lot of people do?
Yeah, I think I have a good story about this, because when you look at the statistics, for example, of people who come from the hood or the ghetto and they get into baseball or basketball or soccer or whatever, they get to that pro level. So when they get to that pro level and they earn a lot of money, they get that identity, like they are the pro athlete right now. But what you're seeing is when they retire from that sport and they stop being that athlete, that identity is falling away. They always go back to their original identity. And that's that guy in the hood who don't have any money. So their spending habits are very bad. So what you're seeing, like 80% of those people are ending up even worse than where they are coming from. And the same goes with, if you have built this identity for yourself that you're this fat kid and you don't have these healthy habits and you lose that weight, but then you lose that like top mentality fitness identity because you don't have to go all in anymore, then the brain tends to go back to that original identity, which is, I like to eat pizza, I like to drink alcohol, I like to do this. And that's why people fall back most of the times. So what you need to do is listen to Joe Dispenza. You have to rewire yourself. You have to really create that new identity for yourself. You are that fit guy. And if you eat a pizza, it's not aligned with your identity because then you're not that fit guy. Obviously, you can eat a pizza
but
every
like,
now and then.
But if you do consistently and you get out there around there,
so when you get to that point and you are happy with how it's looking and you're looking fit, make sure that you don't fall back in that old identity because your brain likes to do that. Like, it's that reptile brain, you call it. So I think it's even more important to have a fitness coach when you lost that weight and to let them help you to maintain it. Because that's the real challenge. Losing weight, everyone can do it. It's just burning more than you consume. It's very simple. But then the challenge comes, like, how do you get it?
Sustain it.
Yeah, sustain it. That's the challenge.
And so what would you say, because I love what you're talking about. I talk a lot about that in my content as well. You know, it's like, you know, you're the cap. Like if we're sitting in here right now and there's a thermostat, like it will go off, you know, if the thermostat is set to a certain degree. And the exact same thing. So what are some practical steps that people can take? They're losing weight, they're getting in shape, or in anything. They're trying to accomplish a new goal. To change that self-identity to that new identity. So they have a goal, I'm gonna look good for the holiday, or I'm fat now and I'm gonna go hard for the next 5 months. What do they do in the end of that goal to develop that new identity and make sure they're not falling back to that old identity? And even acknowledge that they have that old identity.
I don't know if you're familiar with the book Atomic Habits. I think it's the only habit book which is going really deep into this. It's not just do a habit for 90 days and you will stick to it. No, not that crap. It's like sit down, get a notebook, write down who you want to be. Imagine you're already that person, and with everything you're doing, see if it fits that identity. And if it doesn't fit that identity, then you just feel shit when you do it. Because you are that person already, and if it doesn't align with that, then you just don't want to do it. So I think that helped me a lot, creating that perfect identity for yourself and match your habits with that identity.
So really get super clear around what is that person that you aspire to be, what do they have, what do they live by, what do they say?
And live like you already am that person, because if you don't do that, then you would never become that person.
Makes sense. Very simple. So why do you think most people are just not changing? Why do you think people stay lazy, stay out of shape, like are not changing? What do you think is the reason for that? If all the information is there, they can tap into podcasts like you and I we're talking about right now. Why do you think people don't change then? I
think they have an image in mind which seems too far away. Like, okay, I'm 20 kg overweight, that's 13 bottles of Coke. I always measured in bottles of Coke.
Right.
Mom, I lost 3 bottles of Coke already. Like I was measuring like that. And it seems so far away, but just the key here is to get in that momentum. Lose that first kg, lose that second kg, and you'll get motivated like, whoa, this is actually working. In 3 weeks, I lost 3 kg. I'm looking in the mirror, it's already looking better. And that's just get the ball rolling. Take the first step. That's the most important thing. Don't look at the end goal, but just create mini goals for yourself. Mini goals, and eventually, boom, you're there. It's just the same as a staircase. Like first step, then the second step, then the third step, and eventually you're on top and you achieve that goal.
Absolutely, totally makes sense. So let's shift gear right now, because then you are, you got in shape. And how old are you there when you got in shape?
18-ish, 19.
And then did you kind of like bounce a little bit back again? Or were you,
so I was really in that
yo-yo back and forth.
Zigzag.
And then so how old were you when you cracked the code, and then kind of like what was the shift you had there?
Sometimes I'm still zigzagging a little bit.
But you're never getting fat. You're never getting overweight.
I never had that. Like, I always stayed in shape, but sometimes I gained a little bit of weight. But when I saw that in the mirror, I was like, oh fuck, I'm
identity.
This is not my identity. I'm getting back to where I don't want to be. So just change the habits again, and
And then so you are now what, like you're 22, 23, you're starting your own business?
At 18 already.
At 18 already,
Exactly after that period. It just shifted my mind, like if I can achieve this, what else?
What else can you achieve? Yeah. So how do you see, you going through that transformation catapult you into the business, and what are the sort of like the same principles that you're using today to run your business that what you learned from the personal development and the fitness you did?
Yeah, so I think I always like to refer back to books I read. So this one book, this really changed my life. It's called Straight Line Leadership, and they talk about living in a circle world, in a zigzag world, and in a straight line world. And people in a circle world, they tend to, they want things, but they never take the action. And it's like, okay, I want something, but I don't do anything. I want something, and they always want. So what happens is like, you're telling yourself like you aren't in a situation you like, but you don't do anything about it. Then you have people in this zigzag world. So for example, you're very motivated and then you're doing good, and you fell off, and you're very motivated and you fall off. And then you have people who are in a straight line world, and you just have, okay, I'm at point A, I want to get to point B, I'm going there.
Yeah.
Like, and that perspective really changed everything for me. Like, okay, people always tend to overcomplicate things, but if you really break it down, it's pretty easy. I'm here. I need to go here. What is necessary to get there? Just do it. And don't get distracted. That's pretty much it.
I agree. And I think especially, obviously you and I, we live in Bali. It's full of, online entrepreneurs and digital nomads and that sort of thing. And I think a lot of people, in the real world, aspire to that in some way, because there's some sort of like freedom included with it. You can jump around different locations. But what would you say to those people? Because obviously you started super young. What would you say to those guys? Maybe they're in their 20s or maybe they're in their 30s and they realize, okay, I want to change. What do they need to do to be able to do what you do? What do they need to learn? What are some skills? Like, how do they take the first step from working in a normal 9 to 5 to kind of like start creating a little bit more of a freedom lifestyle for themselves, work-wise as well?
And the same goes here. Like, you just have to take that first step. Like, I started at 18. In my first business, I worked on it for 3 years. I didn't earn a dime. I had a startup, like with 2 investors on board. Just back then, you didn't have those fancy business models like dropshipping, e-commerce, and SMMA, and all that kind of stuff. So we just wanted to get that experience, but we were fine by don't make any money. Like the experience was the money for us.
Got it.
So those 3 years, we learned so many things about business. But at one point, when I was 21 or 22. My parents were like, Yannick, we are very supportive, but eventually you have to take care of yourself. And the only thing you're doing is investing. You're driving around in my car, and we're fine because we see you are working very hard, but at one point you need to make money. And I'm like, fuck.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, damn. But yeah, I felt it as well. I didn't have any money anymore. So at that point, my business partner and I were like, okay, we can do 2 things. Or we are going to apply for a job, which I really didn't want to do because I had a trauma of my internship and I really wanted to go back there. Or we are going to try something different, and we're going all in, and the urgency was so high, so
you had to,
we had to. Okay, so we decided to go into e-com, and within 2 months it really exploded.
So what were you doing there in the first business, like practically? You said like you invested a lot of money, like what was that, like I'm whatever, 18, and then like I'm gonna start this. What was the...
So I met this guy, my business partner, at an event organized by our school. And normally I would never go to something like that because I was this introverted kid. I was so scared to get in a place with only new people. But I went to that event and I saw all these people connecting, but I was like, I'm too scared. And back then I still smoked cigarettes. So I just had my pack of cigarettes and a lighter, but I saw a guy and he was smoking. And I was like, okay, let's go to that guy and ask for a lighter. But I had a lighter in my pocket. But just to break that ice and to connect. So I asked it, I got a lighter, and just started talking with these guys. And in this group of guys was my current business partner. So we connected, and we made an appointment. And during that meeting, we just had a list of 10 IDs, and we're just like, okay, what is the objective? We want to gain some experience. Okay. We closed our eyes. This is the ID we were going for, and just never look back. And this ID was a platform for restaurants. The thing with restaurants is in the evening they are very packed, but from, for example, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. it's very quiet. So what we did, we built a platform they could advertise on, and people could buy a voucher with a discount for those specific times. And that's what we built. Like the website only costed 30K. Like it was insane. But
and then just like got people on there, and then like that was the one you didn't make any money off.
Yeah, we did make money, but not enough to give us a salary.
Yeah.
It was pretty big in the city in the Netherlands, but then we needed to expand, and we really didn't like that we didn't have that location freedom. We needed to go physically to that restaurant. And then you went to the restaurant and they were like, oh yeah, the owner isn't here, and then you drove like 15 minutes and
right to get them on the platform, sell them. And
it was just a hassle, man. And we couldn't hire any sales guys because we didn't have the money, so we all needed to do that ourselves. But you can imagine in those 3 years we learned a lot, like sales, marketing, talking to investors, getting them on board.
Did you have any like tech skills at that time? Were you like tech savvy or anything in terms of?
We just hired someone. That's why.
You just had the idea. Restaurant, like there's a gap,
and we will find a way to make it work. That was it. But it's so hard to run a startup. Like I think 3% of all startups succeed.
Wow.
Yeah. But we definitely learned a lot of that. But it didn't work out how we imagined it.
Of course. Yeah. So your takeaway on that was like literally going into like it doesn't really matter.
Look where I am right now. Like the place where you start isn't the place where you're going to end, but you have to get that momentum. And doors will open if you do that. Like closed doors will open, and if you don't take that first step, they will be closed forever.
They will be closed forever. Yeah. And I even heard. I remember in a podcast. I think it's a very successful real estate agent in LA. He was talking about a lot of the times like getting into the rooms. A lot of people they're tippy-toeing. They look into the room and they maybe have that. They're like, oh, that could be fun. Like, we should do that. And they never act on it. And then the door's closed forever. You know what I mean? So
it's just trying.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know this interview of A$AP Rocky. You know A$AP Rocky?
Nah.
He's a very famous rapper from the US, and he's saying like, since when is it not cool to try? Like, why are people laughing at people who just are trying? It's good to try things, but really try things. Like give it some time and try it and see if it works. If I look back at the things I did, I wanted to bring a T-shirt because I had a gym clothing brand as well. I got a T-shirt. I wanted to give it to you, like as a present. I will still give it to you.
We can maybe go into business around that. I want to do some stuff there. We should do something.
Yeah, but first it was a startup. Then I had the idea, a fitness clothing brand. So I started that. Then I produced music for a pretty long time, and it went well. And then I tried e-commerce, and now I have my agency. So it's cool to try to see like what fits you best.
Different things,
And only then, by trying things, those doors will open. But if you only think about it, then nothing will happen. The same with the content thing with me. Like I thought about it for 7 years, nothing happened. I made one decision to just go for it, and a lot of things happened.
Wow. So the guy or the girl, whatever, like there's in a job or in a place in their life where they're kind of like stuck. Like you would say the takeaway is like you just gotta make a decision and try, and through the trying, you will get momentum, like with the fitness, and you will figure out another door and another door.
Exactly, and you don't have to quit your job immediately. Try something on the side. Put in those hours. Make more than 40 hours a week for once. Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I work 80 hours to make it happen. Like, get a side hustle. Do it in the evenings, for example. And if it's starting to make more than your regular job, just decrease the hours there, and eventually you have your own business. But don't, I say this in every podcast, like don't throw your old shoes away until you have new ones, because otherwise you would walk on bare feet.
Only in Bali you can do that.
Only in Bali.
It'll be cool.
Unless you're in Bali, you can do that because you can walk on bare feet.
And it's actually a good metaphor. You could almost like bet everything in Bali, and you could like flip it around.
A lot of people did that, and it worked out perfectly.
No, I totally understand. I think I heard somewhere it's like 9 out of 10 people don't want to lead, but want to be led. So I think there's also a big contrast in like, they might look at someone like you and I, and you and I, we talked off camera. Like your goal with the content is to actually show the downsides, the struggles.
Just full transparency.
Full transparency. Where I think a lot of people, as you say, they look at the Lambos, they look at the boats, they look at the travel, the beaches, and they're aspired to that. But as soon as they just kind of like get into some of it, they're like, hell no, I'm not going to sit on a laptop for 10 hours a day. I'm not going to build a team. I'm not going to do that. Like, do you think a lot of people should go for building their own business, or is there a path for them to come and be an entrepreneur and work for a guy like you or for a guy like me?
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I want to add this to that, what you're saying. Like, you don't have to make 10 million a year. You can just make 100K, for example, a year in your own business, being a big freelancer or whatever. Yeah. It's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to have a Lamborghini or whatever, because there are a lot of struggles coming with that to achieve that success. But if you're truly happy in that 9 to 5 job, it's perfectly fine. Yeah. But if you are going to your work every day with a face like this, then something needs to change. Yeah. And then you have to really rethink, like, what am I currently doing? Yeah. Where do I want to go? And what is necessary to go to that place? Yeah.
Yeah, so like you know, business is hard, you know, and you do a good job at showing that, you know, that it's not for everyone.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, like, yeah. And I totally agree, like, because it's like every single job someone does right now in a company, they could do by themselves, as you say, freelancer, marketing, video editing, content, finance, HR.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like that, because I think a lot of people, they probably look at you and think like, wow, that's a lot of ideas you had. Freaking restaurant and then the agency and then like, but I'm not that smart. I don't have all these ideas. I don't want to be in the same location. I think a lot of people just think that. Yeah. I want to get out.
For example, our team members, our employees, they live a very beautiful life. They get a good salary. They can work from anywhere in this world. Yeah. They don't have the stress I do. Yeah. So sometimes I even think
jealous,
like,
Hello.
I need to do that. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
But it's just, if you don't have that spark inside of you that's saying like, oh, I want to create this, and I want to achieve something big, then then it's going to be really difficult. Like, and then you can just look for a company who is giving you these perfect working circumstances, and you can just travel the world and earning a good salary.
Exactly. What do you see as kind of like maybe the top 3 most hottest skills that people can develop right now that is in demand in this like 2023? Like what areas and industries should people be looking at to maybe like, oh, I need to develop my skills there to have a better advantage?
Well, I have an advertising agency and I know how expensive these people are. Yeah. So for example, if you're really good at marketing and you can build your skill, for example, in TikTok ads. Yeah. Companies pay a lot of money for that because you can bring in a lot of revenue. But also, like, I don't know, if you're really a tech guy, dive deep into this AI thing. Like, it's getting out of hand. Like, it's crazy. And if you can, now it's still early on. If you can get a good idea in this space, and you can market good, then it's very potential as well. Yeah. But also just very old skills like sales, like basic sales, like it's always going to be here. So I don't know, it doesn't really matter what you're going to do, it's how you are going to do it. Like if you put your heart and all of your energy in this thing, then it's going to succeed, but you really have to put in those hours
and develop
and make these sacrifices.
Love that, bro. So what is sort of like, obviously, you know, you had your fitness journey from fit to fat, then you're starting your business fairly early on, and now you've been doing it for like what, almost 10 years, 10
almost 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But what I want to say with this is like, what I see, most people start with something, they don't see any results in 3 months and they quit. I did 3 years, I didn't make any money. We invested 35K or 40K. And then I quit. Like, it's just,
how was it to quit, by the way? Like, to make that decision? Like, did you feel like, fuck,
Yeah, it's really hard because that's your baby, right? You worked on it for 3 years, but we didn't like cut ties immediately. We just didn't. It's the same. Like, don't throw your old shoes away until you have new ones. Like, we did it simultaneously, but we went all in on that new thing.
Got it.
And when we
so
saw,
you pivoted more. Like, you went into into something new.
But then, after 2 months, we already earned more in 2 months than 3 years.
So
that decision.
You're like, wow.
We're doing that. That really opened my eyes. Like, is this possible? Oh, let's go all in.
And why did you stop that? The e-com?
It really didn't make me happy, man.
No?
No.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
I always dreamed of having this beautiful car, this Mercedes. It was on my vision board for ages, like when I was 17, 16. I wanted to have an office, employees, and then I had all of this, and I still felt like shit, like I wasn't happy. And that was the moment I really needed to rethink my life. Like, okay, you have everything you always wanted, but you're not happy. Why is that? And that's when I realized that I really appreciate the complete total freedom, like location freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, just doing whatever I want, whenever I want, and wherever I want. And I didn't have that. So what we decided, we just quit that company, sold the car.
Both of you, your partner?
Yeah. Moved to Portugal.
Yeah.
Put myself in a complete new environment because I had a relationship for 7 years and I didn't really talk to new people like for 7 years because I was really like, I didn't want to give her wrong impressions of that I was talking to other women or whatever. It was a little bit like a toxic relationship. But when you're so long together with someone, you get this mixed identity. So I really needed to find myself again. Like, who is Yannick instead of who is Yannick and my ex?
Yeah.
I was this introverted kid, socially anxious. I went to a therapist for this as well. Like, it was really a big problem in my head. But then I moved to Portugal. I met new people. I put myself in this situation I was so scared of. And that changed everything for me. The personal development in this year I went to Portugal was
crazy,
immense, like crazy.
And were you quitting both the business and the girlfriend at the same time there, more or less?
We broke up, and after that I moved to Portugal immediately.
And then the business were like?
We just stopped buying inventory.
Yeah.
So we just
sold out, declined. Yeah. And then you went to Portugal, and then what? Just
started the agency.
Right. Did you have that idea before you left?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like, I'm going to Portugal, and then do that.
Yeah. So we've built this skill like marketing, advertising, because we use it for our e-com business, and then we're like, okay, we can help other companies, and it will bring me more fulfillment than just buying random products of Alibaba, sell them on Amazon or whatever. It just didn't bring me any fulfillment.
Yeah.
And then we got our first client, and it went through the roof. It went so good, and then I was like, okay,
this is it.
Yeah. And the cash flow was way better. Like e-commerce is a pain in the ass.
Unless
you have a very good brand with profits, good profit margins, then it's okay. But if you're using Amazon and you need to pay a lot of ads, for example, then the profit margins are just shit, and all your money is in inventory.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, where is all the money? We make so much money, but where is it?
Exactly.
All in inventory.
Gone. Yeah.
The cash flow is shit.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, we need a cash flow healthy business. We have this skill, we can sell it, we can scale it, and that's what we did. And now it's going better than ever. So yeah.
And I totally agree as well. Like a service-based business is like, I went back home right now to visit my family and that sort of thing. And my dad, like, he has like grown Christmas trees basically since I was born. So he's got like 32 acres of like Christmas trees up and down. Think about inventory. He's gonna plant a tree, and it's gonna take 8 years to grow up before he can sell it. And in those 8 years, it's like people, fertilizing, water, everything, like to make them grow. You know what I mean? And then you just get caught with the market. The prices are bad 1 year, like all that. It's a massive risk. Where I'm like, service is always going to be there. It's always going to be in high demand, and the profit margin.
But the thing with a service-based business, and if people want to do this, you really need to be careful. At one point, I was handling 23 clients myself. I was this huge-ass freelancer at one point, but I didn't delegate anything because I wanted to have that control. But how can one person manage 23 clients, like marketing clients? It's a lot of work. I was doing the sales calls. I was doing the service delivery. I was doing everything. Like, so if you're doing this and you really start to get that traction and you're scaling up, just delegate. Make sure to make good, like, automated SOPs for the team, and don't be that guy who is
sitting on
doing everything himself. Because you will get in a burnout.
Absolutely. So what is to kind of like wrap around everything we talked about right now, what is going through your health, personal development, traveling, leaving to Portugal and that sort of thing, running your own business right now, what have all of that taught you to where you are today, and what are some key traits, things, and like, what has it really taught you to the person you are today, that makes you who you are today, that makes you strong and
The thing with me is like, I always say that I'm disciplined. I'm this disciplined guy. But I think what people always tell themselves is the thing they most lack.
Right.
And the same goes for if you look at someone's social media and they preach a message, this message is probably something they struggle the most with themselves.
Yeah.
So I always preach like, you have to be disciplined. And I saw this on my videos. You have to be disciplined and you have to be motivated. But I'm like, this is the part of my life I struggle the most with. Because my brain is always want to go back to that fat kid somehow. It's always, that urge is always there. To smoke or to eat trash or to don't work out. It's always a battle in my head. Like
kind of like what have this journey of like freaking transforming your body, you know, traveling and starting your business, what have that actually taught you to become that high performance man that probably a lot of guys are looking up to today that you have?
I think the thing that helped me the most is that I'm extremely self-aware. I always question everything. The things I'm doing, the things that people have taught me, my parents, for example, I always question everything. And if you do that, for example, I think not many people would say, like, I'm preaching this message, I'm disciplined all the time, but that's the thing I struggle the most with. I try to be very honest with myself. Like, and I think that helps a lot, like in everything in life. If you can be honest to yourself, then you can see the bottleneck real quickly. Like you don't fool yourself. And I think that's very important to have to gain success.
Right. So like self-awareness is kind of like a huge one. Yeah.
But don't be too self-aware because otherwise you're in a conversation and like
stiff. Self-conscious. But like it's self-conscious, but self-aware. I get it. I think it's a huge one, and like I love what you're saying in terms of like whatever people are talking the most about is probably what they have struggled with or are struggling with the most.
I see it with spiritual people a lot. Like they are preaching this like. You have to be this and this and that, but they probably went through a really, really rough time, and they tried to get strength out of this. And I don't say I don't believe in spirituality, but I see just like how they put themselves out there and the message they are saying like, okay, probably you had some issues with this, and now this thing saved you, and now you're preaching it. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the same for me. I'm in the service-based business, started with fitness and going into high performance, and then looking at that whole social area, social confidence, social anxiety. Like I dealt with it massively as well. So it's like you can relate.
But do you have also that your mind your brain wants to go back to that guy sometimes?
Yeah, and subconsciously, like I think the reason why I am like I see myself as a fairly disciplined person and never really had trouble with it, even when I was like off track and that sort of thing. But the number one reason why I am so disciplined and wake up and try to make my bed and try to do certain things in a specific way every single day, I try to control everything, is because of that. I'm probably subconsciously worried about becoming that
guy again.
Insecure, druggy, like off-track kid.
Again, the same goes with business. Like I told you before, like what is 6 months in your lifetime? If you always wanted to go to a different country, for example, and you should, in your 20s, you definitely should, because the insight you will gain from that experience, you will get nowhere else. Just do it. If you have some savings, quit your job, go to a different country. If you don't like it, get a new job. What is the risk? What is the absolute worst thing that could happen? Like, I'm not talking about everyone. Like, some people are really in a shitty situation, and I respect that. They just need to hustle and grind to make sure that their daughter has food on the table, for example. So I'm not speaking for all people.
But
if you come from a normal, healthy family in a normal, healthy situation. You're having a
9
job.
to 5,
You're just walking the path someone laid out for you. But you're struggling with like, is this really who I want to be? Is this really what I always want to do? If that's something, if that's your inner dialogue, then just do it. Like, quit that job, go to a different place, experience it, and see what happens. I love that. I think, that's basically wrapping around what I wanted to ask in the end, because I think just do it and just like, as you say, like... Oh, that's why you point out to Nike.
Put Nike, just do it, But like literally just like quit the thing you do right now, because you can always get a job. I remember when I traveled, it was like, I had a girlfriend at that time, and it was kind of like, it was one of those moments again where like you could delay it, you could postpone it, you can like, I can do it later because you're in a good, comfortable situation. But I just made that decision. I made it sort of like very small in my mind as well. I'm like, I'm just gonna go on this trip. And I'll probably be back again in like 2 months.
It's not forever.
Like, it's not forever, but here we are like 7 years, 10 years later, and I knew, you know what I mean?
It's the best decision you could ever make, right? So people tend to make things big in their heads.
Yeah.
Just step. It all comes down to the same thing. I'm repeating myself, but it's really that, like, step by step.
Yeah.
But that first step is very important, because without that first step, you cannot take the second step.
Yeah. And getting, like, for like, to wrap up around that, like, for people to actually get clear about what they want, what do you think they should do? Like, step by step, yes, I'm in a job, I don't want to be where I'm at right now, I'm a little bit out of shape. Like, how did they get clear about, okay, this is the decision, this is where I want to get to?
So I really don't believe in passion. So if you're someone who is saying, like, I need to find my passion, I don't believe in that. I think very few people on this planet really have a passion, but you definitely can find something that gives you energy. So try to think of things like, what are you currently good at? For example, what do you like doing? Is it sellable? Can you sell it to, for example, different companies? Can you make it a service? If so, okay, let's find one client, make an offer, find a client, see if you can make some money out of it. If that's possible, scale it up, like, make it more professional, make a good offer, make a website. But first sell, then make. Sell before you make is, like, very important, because otherwise you're putting so much time into this thing and you don't even know if it works. If you don't have something like that, do some research. There are so many things you can do, service-based or whatever. Make a list. Watch some YouTube videos on all of these topics. See what you think fits you best, and try it for 6 months.
Yeah.
Become an expert in the field. Watch courses. Make yourself known in that space. Make an offer. Try to sell it. If it were, and that's just how you need to try it. And if you eventually see, like, okay, this is nothing for me, okay, try something else, but really give it a try. Because I tried something for 3 years and it didn't work out. And I don't say you have to try it for 3 years, but at least 6 months, really full focused in it. And just try multiple things, because otherwise you don't know. You don't figure out yet. If you don't try, you will never know. Like,
you'll never know. And in the pursuit, as you're saying, you're evolving and you're developing, and you might, like, go for that, but then you in that pursuit you figure out.
Oh yeah, that will happen.
Something. Yeah, exactly.
That will always happen.
Yeah, that's sick, bro. I love that. Last thing, my man, what do you want, what is the message you want to send out there to people, young guy maybe your age right now that's watching your content, like what do you want to say to him?
Yeah, it basically comes down to make sure to not live by other people's expectations. Like, if you're struggling right now and you're in a position you don't like to be in, sit down with yourself, like, ask yourself, what do I really want? And what is the worst thing that can happen? Like, if I make this decision and I'm going to try this with all my energy and all my heart and all my soul, like, what is the absolute worst thing that can happen? And you will see, like, it's not that bad. It's, I don't know, we're on this planet for maybe 80, 90 years. Make the best of it. Like, you cannot stay in a position that you're always have this feeling like, I don't want to be here. So live life on your own terms, man. Be proud of. It's like what Joe Rogan said, like, live your life like someone is always following you, making a documentary about you. And eventually someone will watch that documentary. Is it boring or is it exciting right now? And make it exciting, because that's what life is about.
I love that. That's a good reminder, especially for us when we're working so much. It's like constantly have that, like, how can you improve? How can you change? You know, what can you implement to make it more fun?
Make it exciting, man. Life is beautiful, but you have to make it yourself. Like
I love that, bro. Where can people find more about your stuff, social media? Where are you at there?
Yeah, so I currently started with YouTube and Instagram. So I really want to preach this message, like, live life on your own terms. That's my statement. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram, like _Yannick Noah, and the same goes for YouTube and TikTok.
Beautiful. My man, I appreciate it.
Thanks for the invitation, brother.
My man.
See you.
Let's rock it.